So Twitter is finding itself increasingly in more and more hot water, especially now because we have a second minor suing Twitter because of its promotion of human trafficking activities. The same platform that will try to stop you from talking about political stuff, that same platform apparently has no problem with X-rated content with minors in it floating around on their platform. Make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit the share button, and make sure you subscribe to me and follow to me at my various social media platforms at Young ManHood. Always linked in the description box. But getting into this particular story, anyone who is familiar with Twitter, who has used Twitter before, you know that X-rated content will just flow on by like nothing on Twitter. And I brought this up a couple months back when Big Tech was on its silencing campaign of then President Donald Trump. I brought this up. I brought up the fact that on Twitter, you could see X-rated content of individuals who you don't even know what their age is. It's just a random person. That happens at times on Twitter. And I was surprised when I first saw that because I'm thinking, okay, I don't know the age of this individual. And this incident is getting very little mainstream news coverage. No surprise, because Big Tech is in bed with the media. So no surprise that this story is not getting much coverage. There is X-rated content involving a 13-year-old minor boy floating around on Twitter, and Twitter has refused to remove the content. It has almost 200,000 views, one video in particular, with about 2,200 retweets. The video is being circulated around on Twitter. And that is just one boy in particular, but there are reports of multiple teenagers who are minors with their X-rated content being circulated on Twitter like it's nothing. And the goofballs at Twitter, they don't see this as a violation of their guidelines. This is why they're getting sued. And shout out to the New York Post because they did report on this early in January of this year when the first victim came forward, the first John Doe. But diving into this details of the latest update into the situation with the second minor coming forward. Twitter. I'm glad I never made a Twitter account. Shake my head at y'all. Got X-rated content floating around with minors in it. The parents want you to remove it and y'all say no. Super goofy. I really hope y'all lose that lawsuit. According to the Daily Wire, second minor sues Twitter over trafficking on social media site. A second minor has joined a lawsuit to sue Twitter over the company's alleged involvement in and profiting from the exploitation on the site. In January, Twitter was hit with a lawsuit alleging that a young boy who was solicited and recruited for trafficking known as John Doe number 1 had to endure his own abuse material being promoted on Twitter even after attempts were made to remove the content. A second alleged victim, known as John Doe number 2, joined the federal lawsuit Wednesday. Both plaintiffs were harmed by Twitter's distribution of material depicting their abuse and trafficking, and by Twitter's knowing refusal to remove the images and content. Come on. When notified by John Doe number 1's parents, read a press release from the National Center on Sexual Exploitation. And I am skipping over some words in this article because I don't want to keep saying those words in a video because they'll try to restrict this video as well. Article goes on to state, Encos, the Habit law firm, and the Metiasic firm are suing Twitter on behalf of the minor over the company's involvement in and profiting from their exploitation, which violates the Trafficking Victims Protection Reauthorization Act and various other protections afforded by the law. Yeah, I mean, I don't see how it's legal to have a platform where you allow X-rated content with minors in it to be floating around. That's insane. And refusing to remove it. That's the crazy part. So according to Peter Gentala, senior legal counsel at one of the law firms, he stated Twitter has profited from the knowing distribution of the abuse material depicting these two young men when they were children, and it must be held accountable. Twitter cannot sweep this under the rug. The fact that it both allowed the abuse material on its site and refused to remove it, yeah, that's the insanity. Why won't you just remove it? They have no problem kicking some people off of Twitter, but when it comes to X-rated content with these minors in it, why y'all want to keep that up? Why y'all want to keep that up? Sex trafficking survivor and advocate Eliza Blue called out the lack of mainstream coverage of the second minor coming forward to sue Twitter over the exploitation. Yeah, not getting much media coverage. Shout out to the Daily Wire. Shout out to the New York Post for reporting when the first victim came forward back in January of this year. So Eliza Blue went on to state, and she has a pretty big following. A second minor survivor of exploitation is suing Twitter. Not one mainstream media outlet has covered the story she wrote. Where y'all at? Eliza Blue blasted Twitter in January following the announcement of John Doe #1 suit. John Doe serves as a voice for countless victims and survivors in the United States and around the world. Blue told the Daily Wire at the time, most of the children being abused cannot report their abuse to Twitter. Big Tech has shown consistently that they are unwilling to remove the child abuse material and human trafficking from their platforms at scale. So much as we have seen in times past, it takes brave survivors stepping forward to create change. This is just insane. Insane. John Doe is a survivor in this case. The advocate asserted his bravery will have a positive impact on the internet forever. He is a fighter, a young man, wise beyond his years, willing to take on big tech. Yes. Because somebody has to do something about weirdo content just floating around, going unchallenged. I have no idea why the guidelines, the restrictions that they do have, do not include that type of material. What is wrong with y'all? But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Make sure you hit the like, share, subscribe button, and blessings to you.